Breaking news. Yoon Suk Yeol requests that the UN condemn Russia and North Korea for working together. Yoon Suk Yeol, president of South Korea, has condemned the military ties between North Korea and Russia as illegal and wrong. Therefore, Yoon is urging a unified international response in the media ahead of this week's United Nations General Assembly. However, the situation is complicated by the fact that South Korea is a major supplier of weapons to Ukraine. The UN Security Council resolutions and other international sanctions, in Yoon's opinion, have been violated due to the cooperation between Russia and North Korea. He plans to address the issue at the upcoming United Nations General Assembly meeting. Kim Jong-un, leader of North Korea, met with Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time in 4 years last week. Both Moscow and Pyongyang have denied claims that they supplied weapons to support Putin's war in Ukraine, which the United States has accused North Korea's dictator of doing. During his time in Russia, Kim Jong-un met with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and toured military factories in the Vladivostok area. After Kim's visit, the Kremlin released a statement saying that no military pacts were signed. Putin also assured the international community that sanctions against North Korea would be upheld. Yoon believes that Kim Jong-un's trip to Russia is indicative of a growing nuclear threat from North Korea. If North Korea launches a nuclear attack, South Korea and the United States have already agreed to respond with a massive counter-offensive designed to topple Kim Jong-un's government. The Korean Central News Agency has reported that Putin plans to travel to North Korea as well. It would be unprecedented for a Russian president to travel to North Korea to meet with the country's leader. Urdu Point, Pakistan Point News, the 18th of September 2023, Paris, France, September 18. The French welcome for Britain's King Charles III, whose first state visit as sovereign to France was delayed by 6 months due to riots, will be the granddaddy of all French welcomes. A banquet at the Palace of Versailles. Although it is now a museum, French presidents continue to use the former royal residence to impress dignitaries such as Queen Victoria and Vladimir Putin. France, which beheaded its own king and queen, has a long-running love affair with the British royal family and has often wined and dined them at Versailles over the past 170 years. Long live the king! When Queen Victoria visited Paris for the first time in 400 years in 1855, Emperor Napoleon III celebrated by hosting a ball at the Royal Opera in Versailles for 1,200 guests. King George VI and Queen Elizabeth II arrived in Paris to chants of "Long live the King" and a lunch invitation to Versailles in 1938, as Europe teetered on the brink of another world war. Queen Elizabeth II, Britain's longest-reigning monarch until her death last year, made her first state visit to France with her husband, Prince Philip, less than 2 decades later. The two went to the opera in Paris and then had lunch in the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, where the treaty settling World War I reparations was signed in 1919. Foie gras lover, the land where food is king, has treated British tourists to a spectacular spread. Despite her reputation as a foodie, Victoria was only mildly impressed by French cooking, noting that while the fowl and bouillon are quite delicious, there is less variety than ours in French cuisine. In 1903, she hosted a 16-course meal for her son Edward VII that included fattened chicken, quail, and glazed ducks. There were only 4 or 5 courses available during the reign of Elizabeth II, with foie gras remaining a constant. The pate obtained by force-feeding ducks or geese was a favorite of the Francophile queen, but Charles has banned it from his household, so it will likely never appear on the menu again. The doors to Versailles are always open, and the palace has welcomed many notable commoners. In the years following World War II, President Charles de Gaulle used it to host then U.S. President John F. Kennedy, then U.S. President Richard Nixon, and the Shah of Iran. When Socialist President François Mitterrand hosted Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev there, he effectively opened the palace gates to communists. In contrast, former French presidents Nicolas Sarkozy and François Hollande rarely hosted guests at Versailles, with the exception of the late leaders of Libya and China, Muammar Gaddafi and Xi Jinping, respectively. French President Emmanuel Macron welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2017 before Moscow's invasion of Ukraine made him a pariah. Elon Musk, founder of Tesla, and current owner of X, formerly Twitter, was invited to a business summit at Versailles hosted by Macron in May.